discussion now, but with a second group of artists whose works are in the show. Different set of questions, but same for our audience. So it'll be interesting to see what the responses are as we compare them with the dialogue that went on previously. So I'm going to start, as I did before, with just acknowledging the artists, and each will have a 1-minute presentation of their work. And I'm going to begin with Jeffrey Kent.
Good morning, or afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Kent, and this work is informed by the 2008 election, where I was informed that 7 out of 10 African Americans voted to ban rights for other Americans, and they succeeded. And I was annoyed and touched by that in such a way that it informed a huge body of work, including some sculptures and videos. And this is one of the works from that body of work.
Which is titled
Preach.
And the video in the back.
And there's also a video that's informed by the same subject, which also kind of informs you how I got the slave cotton that are on all of the works that are informed by the series of work.
My name is Chi, originally from Singapore, live just outside of BC. This work is part of a series, discussion series, where it combines the language of abstraction, intuition versus the more deliberate straight lines to create a sense of tension, imbalance in the work. And it's built up over a series of weeks and the next month. And oh, I'm sorry, I keep stepping away. It's part of a series of discussion that is built up of created over a series of a number of weeks and months, and using the language of abstractions to, in my mind, capture the creative process and spontaneity, combined with more deliberate linear geometry, creative work that I think will build the tension and leave something for the mind, the viewer to compute.
Bart?
Thank you. This. Can you hear me?
We do. Under the bottom, the light green.
That's red. There we go. Sorry about that. This is a piece I made last year. I made 3 other videos. This is part of 3 videos. The idea in a lot of my work is it's explorations of places, usually places that have been abandoned, and that give me kind of a space for me to intervene or to invent or create something. I think a lot about archaeology and how we uncover facts from the past and make assumptions about what we found. So the piece started with a video documentation of the place and the light and how light moved around the building, but as I made the video, a poem came with it as well, which was about that kind of idea of a displacement or a displaced place that allowed poetic intervention.
My name is Myrtis. I'm a professor emeritus
continue. So I look at advertising, I look at magazines, I look at all these things that we take for granted that just kind of go by us, like from McDonald's. If you know what you're looking for, you see how this whole thing is perpetuated, and it has to stop, and it will stop. So
Let's hold this stop you, so
okay.
we're just doing the 1 minute and you will,
Oh,
open
we're doing
discussion.
1 minute?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I told you it's going to be a different conversation. So Linda?
Hi, I'm Linda, Northern Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. And this piece is called Emergence. I take the natural form. This was a boxwood brush that was left on the side of the street. I love the energy, and so I then created a base that's made out of black walnut, and I usually try to find black walnut has always been a fine wood, so I often use it as a way of lifting up nature, and so all my pieces are a natural form at eye level and juxtaposed with a geometric form.
Casey?
Hello everyone, my name is Antar Spearman. I currently live in Los Angeles. I'm an electrical engineer by trade. I think that kind of shows through in my work. As an engineer, I kind of focus on form, linearity, construction, and things that actually make up the piece. And with my pieces, I always like to use multiple canvases to allude to the expansiveness of art. So art will always start with an idea or an inspiration and then grow beyond that. I like to capture that.
Hello, my name is Scheherazade Tawali, and you can probably see my work over there in the back. And basically, everybody thinks it's glass, but it's actually plexiglass from recycled candy machines that I collect. So they're typical machines that are kind of becoming obsolete now. And I love to work with light. That's why we have my pieces next to the sunlight. And I also like to work with manufactured light. So, actual bulbs that I'll put in there. And the light will project on the walls and create different colors and lines. And I like to create spaces, sort of like a change in the internal space or a change in the architecture through light. So, thank you.
Jerry?
My name is Jerry Tapp. I'm from Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, but I live in New York City.
yourself to be an artist activist? Yes.
Well, all right. First, my first explanation was that I'm sort of a colorist, and what I do is I work with color. I'm an art teacher. I've been teaching art for so the way I use the color is I try to seduce you with the color, and then once you're involved in the painting, you say, "Oh my God, this guy's talking about something else." And what I'm talking about is racism. What I'm talking about is black people as the underdog. What I'm talking about is the kind of subjugation, the kind of domination that we've been exposed to when we are, in fact, the people who built this place. I have a piece in there called Mr. Kicks. And it's about how we're supposed to be lazy and, kind of disoriented, sort of. But that's a concept that we live with. It's a false concept, but it's so dominant in our culture that we buy it. It's in advertising. Every place you look, you will find something, if you know what you're looking for, that talks about how black people are lesser. Even as a teacher, you run into that. And I've been teaching at the college level forever, and even that, you have to fight that in higher education.
So let me stop you there, because I would like you to turn the microphone over to Galerie, and then I want to take it to Terry. And with the question being on the table for everyone to respond to, because I think that there's a lot of connectedness between your works and what it is that you're addressing. And so we take what Ari just said and juxtapose that against what you're addressing in your work, in your Preach series, where it's talking about us as African Americans now taking a position against people based on their preference in terms of their sexual orientation, and we're voting against them being able to have the right to marry. And so talk about the premise of your work and put it in a little bit of context.
I definitely would agree with the argument that in this particular case, in this body of work, my life as an artist is also as an activist. And particularly because of how strongly I feel about hypocrisy and the use of the church to convey something to African Americans, especially. This was really specific to African Americans from a different perspective, where the hypocrisy of people who came from such a past in America would take sides to ban rights for other Americans. Whatever their purpose in life is, I think it's okay for anyone to feel any way that they want and be against anything they want, just like I'm against hypocrisy. And I think it's okay to be against homosexuality if that's your thing, but I don't think that, especially in America, anyone should try to ban rights that other Americans have, no matter what the person's lifestyle is, because everyone has a personal lifestyle that is their own. And so I felt very strongly about that. And so I use a lot of historical relevance in my work and try to get a lot of specificity in the selection of the materials that I use to use as a reminder of the time when we, as African Americans, had no rights in America.
And then Terry, did you pass that? Because in your painting, which I absolutely love, I love street art. I saw, you said that you're a tattoo artist, so I kind of saw that rendering or that style in your work. But what I really love about your work is chaotic, if you first look at it, and if you don't really read the messaging and try to understand what it is that you're trying to convey. So I would like wanted for you to take a moment and take us through your canvas. Because again, I see, this strong messaging in your work, Jeffries and Arby's, and then I'm going to take it to you, Helen. Go ahead.
As an overarching point.
Yes, whatever.
I found the question very interesting and
Yes.
troubling in a way, because I've been an activist de facto for a long time, and it's taken time away from my art. And I'm struggling not to. I grew up like working from a very young age on, and we were on strikes. I've been on union strikes. Growing up in rural Kentucky, we got a lot of assholes coming to town. Buddies of mine used to be, we were informal, we protested Klan, but we were the real protesters. We brought our guns. We do things like that, a lot of environmental work, we go and sabotage equipment. I've been in jail for it and such. It's cost me time away from my work. What I've looked for with works like these and a lot of the newer works, I'm trying to find beyond the everyday disintegration of social world, environmental world, I'm trying to find key elements, almost like a folk science of disintegration of the universe. Whereas animals, we've lost, there's a gap now between what goes on inside us collectively and individually and what we could be. You can see it almost as the media, but there's something almost demonological. I did a series of drawings of Dick Cheney, Henry Kissinger, Jerome, and I would take elements of soldiers' facial wounds from Germany in World War I. There was an anarchist who took a photo of them not allowed. He was killed by Hitler. And I put them on these guys' faces in these beautiful, very graceful charcoal wounds. And no one could tell for a while that they had been altered. It was told me, as a preacher said, they're shapeshifters. They're not humans as imagery. They move into different levels. So I look at imagery like this. This is actually not to play on all the asshole comments, but this was initially inspired by a quote from William Burroughs. That white people were invented in an explosion of the Gobi Desert 30,000 years ago. It's a dig racially, it's a dig, I think, Southern culture. I grew up in Cherry Park, and all those people are on here. And I want to extend the parameters past race and region, because as I've traveled worldwide, there's not much of a difference. And I was thinking of an explosion that would explain our contemporary lack of mythology, our contemporary lack of meaning. If you go anywhere in the world right now, you see a monoculture spreading out. And it's a monoculture which is obviously running into the abyss on many levels. So I was thinking of that, an atomic bomb,
thought it was the root system is down here, and it was cut very much in a spherical way, and when I saw that on the street, I just stopped my car and picked it up. And then the black walnut is lifting it up. But yeah, I think my work is more a call to quiet.
Yeah, the way I see it is that all art is political, just by nature, because all of us are political, whether we identify that way or not. But the experience as an immigrant into this country for me has been quite different, because the Irish get the credit for the building they did. You know, the Irish American community here has a very romantic idea about Ireland, the old country, beautiful. The violence of our history is never really discussed. So in that way, my politics comes into the work just by the nature that the person who made it has a certain political point of view. And I very much agree about being in an age where there's a lot of meaning being destroyed and myths being destroyed, and then new ones being created, you know, history being told by the winners and all that kind of thing. So it's an ongoing investigation for me, and sometimes I sit up and think, oh, I better make some more politically overt work, because my work's kind of subtly political. I don't really like hit me over the head with it. But it's definitely there. And like you say, in terms of looking at overlooked things, re-examining them.
Yeah, and that is a part of Scheherazad's practice also.
So basically I use recycled materials, and that's the first element, but the other element that I don't really talk about is the colors that I use, because I was born in Iran and lived there for the first 7 years of my life, and that had an immense influence on me. And one of the aspects of living there was that we had to cover up. You know, when we went in public, we all had to wear black. We had to wear black clothes and a black scarf, and even when I was in the first grade, I had to cover up. And so there was a culture of, not so much a culture, but more like laws that repressed color, like literally, you know, red, blue color, and that you could not express yourself through color, that was not permitted. And so for me, I do think that my work is very political, because it's like a protest against that, you know? And I also think that it's also here, you know, we find that people don't like to wear a lot of color here, you know? And buildings don't have a lot of color. And so for me, it's sort of like, I want my colors to pop, and I want to express myself through that. And I come from a society where you are forbidden to express yourself. Literally, you are forbidden, and it is dangerous if you express yourself, especially if you express yourself politically. And so I'm still, as an artist, terrified to express myself, you know. And I find that I express myself through colors, because that's the only way that I feel permitted to express myself, because I cannot express myself through words, you know. And my husband and I, we were separated for 4 years because he lived in Iran, and he couldn't come here because of the political situation. He didn't have, you know, it took him 2 years to get a visa. I couldn't go back to Iran because of political reasons. I couldn't go back, and we couldn't see each other. And so I think the body of work that I made in those 3 years through these sculptures was a way for me to sort of escape reality in a way, you know, and to sort of escape to a happier place, to a more hopeful place, that, you know, we could be together, and we did unite, and
good thoughts expressed here that would apply to me when I learn how to say them.
So see, you're part of the whimsy, the fun, the joy, in terms of my response to your work. I saw it and it just made me laugh. And I'll direction here, so I can pull it up. So you've already told us that in your mind now, your mind's eye, that this is not just your imagination, but you are creating your own sense of reality with your characters. There's another piece of the exhibition that a chameleon is in it. So your use of color and this repetitive motion in terms of just how it's rendered, I find really fascinating. So tell us, there are other characters that you've created within this imaginary world, so it appears from someone from the outside, but in your world, you say that this is part of your reality.
Yes. I have another artworks, a series of artworks, which I created this year, and they all have sweet treats and those like vibrant colors, and it looks very bright. Yes, it is. But this is how I started. When I first came to U.S., I came here with a lot of hope, making a lot of friends and having a lot of freedom, and being less conservative. But then I couldn't make any friends because I couldn't speak English, obviously. I had to start learning alphabet from A to Z. And it took me, unfortunately, it took me very long. It took me up to 3 years. And meanwhile, I had to find something to express myself and express my idea. And I started sort of doodling and making a lot of drawings that is not actually alive, but pretending or turning into an object that is alive. So it is sort of like my friends that just I ended up making something that looks alive.
see a movie until I was 18, you know, because we weren't going to go and sit in the balcony and pay the same money that white people pay to sit downstairs. So that pushed me to try to understand what's going on here. What is this all about? Why am I supposed to be different from that person over there? Why aren't my rights the same as that person over there? And as I work with kids in juvenile hall, I see so many African American and Latino kids incarcerated. And they're targeted. So I think we just need more education and less incarceration. So my work, this young man pointed out that you can't really say what you really, really want to say, but you can say it with your work. You can say it with your paintings. You know, the painting is worth 1,000 words, that sort of thing. Albert Einstein said, creativity is the refuse of time wasted. I like wasting a lot of time.
So, my muse is definitely nature. I use repetitive themes from nature, like fractals. So, basically that means like a tree, you know, how the trunk of the tree and the bark of the tree look a lot like the actual leaves when you look closely. So I use a lot of the elements from nature, and I also use influences from my own culture, round shapes, which are a huge architectural theme from Iran, and globes as well, which are, you know, the mosques are all globes, and stained glass buildings that in Iran that shine light through.
Well, I'm like a sponge, I guess, and the fact that I have so many things that I'm always doing, and I have to kind of filter out my muses because everything, I want to do everything. It's like I'm a person that just always wants to do everything. So it's like, if you look at the news, I saw that 7 out of 10 black folks voted to ban rights. That was my muse. Alex, your husband, was my muse for my Gila series, for Henrietta Lacks, did a series of abstract paintings. So it depends on whatever. I'm an opportunist.
I used to think that my muse was music, but lately I've discovered that I can trust my internal motivations a little more than I did in the past. So that's what I'm going for now.
I've just been warned that we only have 5 minutes left on the video, so we have to make our responses very brief.
As I said, my muse was candy shop, but more the colors that I see from now on, as long as I explore and see a lot of like actual people, not my sketchbook, which is actually alive now. I can speak English better than before. That could be my muse, and like colors and people and actual communication like this. That would be my muse.
Well, I've been accused of being sensualist. I'm interested in different color, in the effect of color and touch in fabrics. I want people to be touched in some way. You can put your hands on a lot of the work that I do and feel it as well as through the color.
I guess I really don't have the use. I just need to play with paint, make marks, things. Sometimes I enjoy painting people. Sometimes it's a landscape. Sometimes just enjoy doing it. Sometimes it's more of these ideational, theoretical things. But it keeps me on the track.
My muse is the natural lines that I find in wood. Example, my sculpture yesterday in my studio. It's just amazing and looking closely at these textures or these lines and how do I make it so that people see it?
I get inspiration from everything that I see from day to day, from the steps there to the colors on a lot of these beautiful works. I get inspiration just from everything that I see around. Like that vase is awesome. You might see something like that soon, but just from everything.
I get inspired by things around me. Artists do big things and little things, and then little pieces of drawings my children give me, and then oh, this stroke looks nice. I want to walk over here. So it comes from just living life and then making the process.
It has to be place at the end of the day that inspires me. When I painted landscapes. When I paint an abstract, it ends up looking like a landscape. When I make a video, it's always been a response to a place. That's the short answer.
For the past 3 years, my quote-unquote muse has been Arab Spring, and I've been working on a lot of things with regards to that, and also stories from my father growing up in Damascus, Syria, and Lebanon. So I've been inspired a lot by that experience.
So I just want to close by first asking you to give our artists a round of applause. And also to say that our catalog has not been completed. We are working on one for the show. If you'd like to, please sign up on our list, and we'll contact you when they're available. And I also want to add that Artie and I met. I was at MICA, the oldest student there at the time, and going through the curatorial program and working on the slavery exhibition. And that's what brought us together.